Welcome back, everyone, to Nurturing Nature y Nosotras. My name is Tatiana. I'm a naturalist and educator here on Teachings by Tatiana. And today I'm joined by Daisy. She is going to be our wonderful guest for this episode. We're going to dive into her work and all the amazing kind of ways you can take science. I feel like that's a lot of the kind of overarching theme of your career, and I'm so excited to get into it. Just kind of explore what that looks like for her and kind of what's up ahead in the future, because there's always something to look more into or to get data on. So we'll dive into all of that today. So to get started, I had an icebreaker question, and then you can tell us about yourself. But as you know, I'm a big nature person, love plants and the environment. We're in a perfect setting here in the park today. But I think something that's interesting to reflect on is, over the years of your career, you've done a lot of different things. And I'm curious, if you had to think about your life compared to sort of nature, we were kind of talking about temperatures and cycles just now. What would you say is like your kind of season of life you feel like you're in currently?
Oh, definitely spring.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah. I guess because I'm learning, and I feel like spring is very much like you're learning because, things are being born, birds are learning how to fly, they're learning to, fledge for the first time, fly for the first time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's the weather that's also slightly influencing that. And I guess a lot of the work that I'm doing now has to do with rebirth, regrowth.
Yes.
And it always brings back spring, even though it's, middle of summer right now.
Right. But thematically
spring. Yeah.
I love that. And I think if anyone is following your journey, they definitely will get that vibe from you. It's a lot of fresh start, new beginnings, optimism, trying to figure out a new way forward.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so exciting. So with that being said, we've already kind of touched on a little bit about who you are, but in your own words, how would you describe who you are? Use whatever titles that feel true to you, and anything else you want to share, if you just needed to be to someone new, hey, this is me. How would you introduce yourself?
I would introduce myself as I'm Dr. Daisy.
Yes.
I always think it's important to acknowledge and use that title that we've earned.
Absolutely.
Especially in a lot of places where we're, not the majority. And sometimes people will forget that and just say this is Tatiana or this is, Daisy. And it's that's great, right? But if we have that title, that's something else that we bring to the table, something that we've earned.
Yes.
Right? I think we should definitely use it.
I love that.
So I'm Dr. Daisy. I do science communication, so I kind of think of myself as a science communicator, but I think still deep rooted in everything, I'm still a chemist. I approach that in everything that I do. I guess I don't see myself much as a content creator, but I really see myself as a educator.
Yes.
Because there's just so much information in the world, and science is scary. And if there's someone else that can break it down for us to make it less scary, or to kind of guide us to, better just knowledge of it, I think it's important. Something I came across actually the other day was I was reading something. They're trying to put scientific information out, it's a community effort person or people, and I understand they want to help educate, but I saw that they were using the word toxins and contaminants wrong. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, what should I do?
Yeah. No, I empathize a lot with you, and I feel like we're on similar journeys. You leaning more towards chemistry, I feel like I lean more towards botany.
Yeah.
But that's also something that drives me a lot in my work, is seeing people, even on social media, post videos about different things. And it's that's not quite right, because we understand the science, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely feel a kindred spirit in this journey of trying to educate people and try to point them into like more factual information and not just what you might see online or what you might hear from someone.
Because like somebody was, I guess, toxins sounds much more dangerous, which they are, than contaminants. But toxins actually come from like nature, like, you know, they're actually biology driven. Like frogs have toxins, right? Pufferfish have toxins. Yeah. But contaminants are usually things that are like man-made, so leftover things from something else. So like right now with like the whole wildfires in the Southern California area, I see people misusing the word toxins and contaminants, and I always use contaminants because I was like, that just makes more sense. So it's like they're like, oh, you used to work with toxins in the lab, and I'm like, no, I used to work with chemicals, but they're not toxins. I'm like, I would say a biologist maybe working on some like ocean related natural products might have worked with a toxin, but I was like, I worked with chemicals, not toxins. Yeah, absolutely.
And something else that is really interesting to me as a science communicator, as an educator, is words, like how you can use words to inspire people, to inform, or I mean, not in our work, but other people can use language in a way that can scare people or make them feel hopeless. So that's something else that like I'm glad there are people like us doing this good work, because we get so many messages, whether it's like social media, from our friends, family members, and like having something that is credible, reliable, and can still be entertaining to a certain extent is like why we do this, you know? So I want to dig into more of that in just a bit, but let me double check what I have on here to make sure I'm on topic, because I don't want to get too off track, but this is perfect, a perfect segue. So Dr. Daisy, I love the title. I personally do at this moment do not see myself going for a PhD, but I think definitely titles are important too. So I honor that, and I'm so happy that you also bring that up too, because I don't think we should minimize ourselves either. And you're saying like people like us who may not be super represented in our fields is really important. And I know a lot in your work, and especially being here in California, that comes up a lot. So do you want to talk a little bit about your cultural heritage, how that comes up for you in your work as a Latina in STEM?
I'm Mexican American, Latina. And then there's I always think that there's this other layer that sometimes like Latinos don't talk about, is that we're really indigenous. And so that's something that I, always want to mention, because, a lot of the Latin community, like, my family's from Mexico, right? Like that has been colonized. I did a DNA test just because I was curious. I was like, I know there's like Spanish in there, but like how much? But it's like mostly indigenous, right? And which makes sense. But I don't think it's like, it's not good to forget that, because indigenous people were also scientists. They were the first scientists before white colonizers came and discovered something. It's like, no, they discovered, other things. Like they were already they had amazing engineering, right? They had probably, they say, one of the best sewer systems compared to like Europe at the almost at the exact same time in history. So I think like that's important. Let's see, what was the second part of the question?
And how, because I think being a Latina in STEM, that's something that's important to me, because that's how I also identify. But I'm curious, how does that come up in your work? Because for me, for example, when I talk about plants, I love talking about being in South Florida. We benefit a lot from where we are latitudinally.
On the latitude.
Yes, like being in the subtropics, and a lot of plants from South America, the Caribbean, Central America can grow there. So it's always so beautiful for me to talk to people and be like, look at this guava tree, like, oh, my grandma used to make recipes with that, that cultural connection. So I'm curious for you, like in chemistry or in any of these other science, education, communication avenues, how does your culture come up for you? Like, how do you want to take up space as a Latina?
I don't know. I guess in my opinion, it's like I didn't really encounter a lot of Latina chemists. So just taking up that space. There aren't a lot of people that used to, a lot of Latinos that are professors. So I used to be a professor, right? So I took up that type of space. Here now, it's we just went through this like whole wildfire thing in January, and there's a bunch of scientists, and there's the county, and the government, and they're doing a bunch of tests and stuff, but the messaging isn't getting through to Latinos. And so like one of the things that I've been kind of thinking about and kind of working on is how can we, get more Latinos to realize like, hey, we should really care about what's in our soil. Because even before the fires, LA soil was not great, just due to many reasons. And again, depending like where in LA, because I'm like, what, I don't know. I think according to the GPS, it's like 13-ish miles.
You're like north.
I'm northwest. East. I'm northeast.
Northeast, yes.
But like, there's actually a lot. They used to do a lot of, what do I want to call it? Like trash dumping in the Altadena area before there were homes, because that's where there were a lot of poor people. All the rich people lived in what is Pasadena. And then they used the outer side of that area to burn a lot of trash, and that's also where there's like a lot of lead paint contamination, because a lot of the homes are really old, and it takes money to paint, and like you have to get it like professionally like cleaned off, scraped off, and then that has to get specially dumped to a special location. So it's like a whole mess. And that's not even talking about like the South LA part, which is like there's a we were pumping oil. There's stuff on the ground. There's a bunch of lead. So trying to, people that do want to touch into their roots of like, I want to, grow my own vegetables, like maybe that they're used to from when they grew up. It's like we should kind of care what is happening in our soil, because, I wouldn't grow vegetables knowing what I know now.
Absolutely. And I think that's huge too. Again, kind of like coming into where we overlap, like soil and then plants, as people are trying to be more self-sufficient or even get an interest in gardening, because I know that has changed a lot in the last few years. You coming from the soil science side, you're like, wait a second, let's take a step back and understand a little bit more, like literally the foundations of that practice before getting into it is huge. And I think, I'm really inspired by your work in trying to communicate that information to the Latino community, because they may not have that same educational background or even foundation. They're like, okay, I have my patch of grass, let me work with it. There's just so much other stuff that goes into it, and it's not just like the chemistry, but like you were talking about, in certain parts of the city there's this kind of activity, so like that's not a safe place to maybe garden.
Or
it's like
there are ways to remediate that, right? So it's been nice to use my chemistry background, and now I'm actually learning. Sorry, I get distracted by birds.
No, you're fine. I know you're a birder.
Yeah, I see 2 mockingbirds and something else. No, that's a mockingbird too. And I think that's actually a fledgling, because it's making a special noise, and it looks very small.
Oh my god.
And it's probably asking for food.
That's so cool. The mockingbird is Florida state bird.
Really? Yeah. Oh, ours is a California quail. You're not going to find them here in smack down middle of
in the city,
LA. I heard they're sometimes actually in the Huntington.
Oh my gosh.
So I think you just have to catch them at a certain time. Yeah. But they're the ones that just there's only a handful there. Anyways.
Yeah.
So
birder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get really distracted by them.
No, you have that ear.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's the behavior. I think this is where I said like the chemist comes outside, where as a chemist you learn to observe, whether it's visually or you actually have to look at like data and that you get from an experiment. But with birding, it's a different type of like attention and detail. So obviously there's visuals, there's also, you can hear birds. What else have I heard? I mean, obviously there are some birds that let you pet them, right? So use more of your senses. And so I think like as a chemist, it's really interesting to, tune into the other sides. Yeah, it's definitely asking for food because it's actually like lifting. Yeah. So it's still fledgling season. probably
Cool.
until like the end of summer, and then they'll probably be independent enough to leave and be on their own. But
Cool.
spring and summer are like the best times to learn about birds, especially see this type of behavior.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a very, very, very amateur birder.
I think I am too.
Yeah.
I only started during the pandemic.
Oh, that's awesome.
But still,
Yeah.
I still consider
It's
myself
super
an
fun.
amateur. I'm still learning.
Yeah, I think the sound part is so cool. Like, that has really unlocked a different piece for me, because for me, I'm in tune with the greenery, you know? Like, I'm good at identifying plants and, like, really getting curious about it. But now having sound in the mix, like, just like you, I'm always like, what is that? That's a cardinal, or that's whatever. And I think that's such a fun way to be more, like, in tune with the world, I guess. Because it's like, not only are you breathing fresh air, walking outside, but then now you're like, oh, if that's a fledgling, I wonder why. And you start to think all of these questions, which is like, I think, and I'm sure you have come across this too in the education piece, that's what gets people excited and gets them curious, and that's what you want people to instinctively do themselves. So then they start asking those questions, and then
Curiosity questions.
Exactly, and start to understand their world a little bit better.
Yeah, kind of like going back to the soil thing, right? Like, if we can understand, why it's not good to plant in our natural soil, maybe we need vegetable beds. That's something to do. And I'm currently learning more about soil because I'm working in that space. But it's interesting to see the connection between chemistry and soil.
Absolutely.
And then also helping your community. It's like a different type. So it's like, it's all connected.
Yeah. And it's really powerful, I think, too.
Yeah.
Like, having that autonomy, that responsibility, and, like, I guess self-confidence to a certain extent, of being like, I can take this sort of into my own hands and understand whatever actions you need to take to create a vegetable bed, or maybe call my county people and say, hey, let's get this lead out of here, whatever the case might be. I think that's really powerful too. Like, I always think about actions as far as, like, I don't know how to explain it, more like, I guess, on a personal level. But something else I'm trying to get more in tune to is like, okay, but we can only do so much as individuals, so how do you take it a step further? I think that's another level I'm getting closer to unlocking, and being like, who do I have to call, who do I need to reach out to for like that next step in a more like
larger community science, like getting bigger and bigger. I think it makes a huge difference. Something that is going on like right now with the wildfires, because a lot of people are doing independent tests, and they're letting their public officials know on like the city level. The city level is now telling, like, the larger forms of government, that now the government's admitting, like, okay, there is actually more stuff than we thought there was, based on the preliminary testing. And I'm like, well, yeah, because like I've seen the numbers, it's not good. And I'm like, I kind of wish that the government on a larger would have done that, instead of having, I guess, testing started like March, so it started pretty late, so it's July, that's 4 months. Where it's like, oh, we could have been doing little things maybe to the soil to kind of help account for that. But it's still, at least like now they know that people are testing,
and they're interested, and they want to know more. Absolutely. And that, I think this is a nice segue into something else I was curious about. So I'm sure throughout your whole journey there have been a lot of challenges, or maybe areas of growth, really kind of paving that path for yourself. And especially even more so now recently with these wildfires happening, that's so scary. Like, seeing the world be affected physically in such a way is super jarring. And me watching from Florida, I was
I was
oh my
only
gosh.
a mile and a half away, and it's scary because it's like,
Absolutely.
well, that's where I grew up, right? Like, I can't go hiking to where I was hiking. I was helping with some bat research. I can't do that because that part's burned.
Absolutely.
But,
like, I'm sure that has taken its toll on you in some way personally. So kind of reflecting on that, or if you want to think about like your career, maybe like not only pursuing higher education but then working in higher education, how have you tried to sort of pour back into your own cup and try to, like, take care of yourself so you can do all this great work that you're doing?
Oh, definitely. Like, I guess in graduate school they they tell you that, you should kind of take care of yourself, but it's like you don't realize the importance of it until like either you're kind of well into your graduate school or maybe even like afterwards. But yes, taking care of yourself is so important. I found running, I think, I started during graduate school.
Awesome.
Never did it in high school or college. And I think, in grad school is when I ran my first half marathon. And like I still continue to run to this day. I tried out doing like bar. Right now I'm doing yoga, which I really like. Almost like a yoga Pilates class right now. As a good like physical way, but it's also really good just mentally too.
Yes.
I don't know. I like to space out when I'm running. And I also like to bird when I'm running.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm like the worst runner. I will stop if I find a nest on the floor.
Oh my gosh,
literally.
yeah.
I found owl pellets one time during my run, so I stopped,
cool.
dissected one quickly, and then went back to running.
No, you're my kind of runner because like I don't run, but even if I'm doing a walk outside, I'm always curious about everything else like around me, so I completely understand.
But that's one way I think that's really good on like taking care of yourself, because it's like if you pour so much out to help like other people, whether it's like part of your career or not, right? Like that takes a toll on
really
you.
Does.
So it's really good to like take a step back. I always have like a show that I fall back on, like Parks and Rec is like my go-to.
Oh my god, I love
when I'm like as like something to kind of help on that side, but it's like to also be physically active is like really important. What else do I like to do? I like to go to museums and like again go birding is something I picked up during the pandemic. I continue to learn, so I feel like right now like I'm learning more about soil science and how it's connected to chemistry, so that's also helping me. It's like I don't know,
you just
self-teaching is like, or self-learning, even though it's like informal learning, right? I'm not going to college for this, but during graduate school you train to learn, and so you literally can pick up anything because you know how to read research papers, even if it's a field that's like outside of your wheelhouse. That's something that I remember trying to tell I was teaching a class and the students like never really read like a research article. I was like, I'm gonna tell you a secret that I use when I read like a research article on like, I like astronomy, so that's like something I'll pick up every once in a while. It's like, okay, here's something you should do. Read like the introduction, read like the first 2 sentences of every paragraph, and then the conclusion, right? Like that's gonna help you. And they were like, they're like, that actually makes sense without knowing all these other chemistry related terms. I'm like, and I was like, and you can take that and apply it to like anything.
Where was that when I was in graduate school? Like I would just suffer and be like trying to read line by line, and it got done, but it was not enjoyable. So I think also learning about new things that are just interesting to you, that you're not like getting a grade for or anything like that, is so much fun. And I think like there's just some people who are just natural like lifelong learners too. So to continue doing that, I think is super great, because I just empathize. I love museums. I did get a degree in museum studies, so I'm like extremely biased, but like going into any exhibit, I'm just like, how are they displaying this information? Why? What story are they telling?
Is it accessible or not?
Oh my gosh, yes.
A lot of volunteering in museums, so that's also where I learned a lot of informal teaching and learning methods. And so thinking about that, like I now look at it as the accessibility. Where I'm like, okay, like, can this drawer open in the right way? Because it's like, I don't know, like, what is it? My sister-in-law just broke her elbow, right? And then, let's say she wants to go to a museum, and this was her right elbow that she broke. And it's like, okay, she's going to need to be able to open it with her left hand. But this could easily apply to, like, a kid, because kids are always falling, breaking things, right?
No, I'm on the same page. I have maybe I won't say this critique because we're here in LA, but I'll tell you off camera.
Okay.
But I'm always going into museums too, like seeing how physically, how
the spaces
accessible
being,
the spaces, but also like reading the words, like
Yes.
why is this text on a brown background, or like is this big enough, or is it in multiple languages? Like I love all of that stuff too, because
I do it too.
Yeah,
That's something
as an educator,
as an
it's-
educator, and like now that I'm trying to like create content, I'm trying to make
Yes.
sure that like, it's like you also, like, educators, like professors have to do this, and sometimes they forget. It's like not everybody can see color, so sometimes like, can we find experiments for students that can't see a certain color, because sometimes their grade depends on it, and they're like, but what if I can't see it? It's like, you can't be dismissive that someone, you know, has this thing that is beyond their control, right? It's biology.
Yeah.
It's not their fault that they cannot see a certain color. We should be able to have alternative experiments for those types of situations.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never thought about. I mean, I don't personally have any other like impairments, so it's like I wish more people understood that to help those who might need that extra support, because they can still do whatever the experiment is, but maybe they don't understand that the outcome of it because they can't see, and that overlaps into everything else. And I can just see how that could be really disappointing and maybe a deterrent to continue learning science or even pursuing whatever the course is.
Yeah.
That's huge. I need to sit on that for a second. That was like, wow.
Yeah. No, it
interesting.
was, yeah. But no, I do the same thing at museums sometimes too.
Yeah.
Or sometimes what other organizations also put out on theirs. And I'm like, I was like, okay, I'm blind, I wear contacts, but like sometimes like on a screen I'm like, I don't want to force my eyes, even though I can squint enough, it'll be fine, or I can zoom in, but it should not take me this extra effort as a person to be able to zoom into this one portion of your post, or even a poster that's like outside.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
I know, it's all about like I think a lot about not only how I'm trying to portray information in some sort of way, but how people will interact with it, whether it's a post or if I'm talking to someone outdoors and like the wind is blowing or like a airplane blows past, I'm like, okay, maybe I should get a microphone for next time to make sure everyone can hear me. Like all these little things. And I think that's such a really beautiful thing to keep into consideration when communicating science. And also it can get overwhelming sometimes because there's like, okay, but what if someone needs this? What if someone needs that? Like,
I think it's good to like keep in mind.
Yes.
So like with birding, I had this interaction with someone. They said that they can't really visually like always see the birds. They move too fast for them, which is understandable. I totally agree with that. So they actually said, if I can look at the flight pattern, see that little blob moving, maybe it's distinct enough from another nearby bird. I'm like, that's really good, because some people, you know, can identify birds by just listening. That's again what happens if you can't hear. You should still be able to bird.
Absolutely.
Right?
You can engage so many different senses.
Obviously don't taste a bird. Same with like chemicals. Don't taste chemicals.
I always tell people when we walk outside and they're like, oh, is this an edible plant? And I say, everything is edible once. But we're not trying to take that risk today, you know? That's such a great point. I love that. So something else I was curious about is kind of talking along on that same vein of like self-care. On your journey, you said like you didn't see a lot of Latina chemists. What kind of inspired you to, you know, pursue the sciences or pursue higher education? Like, was there a mentor or like another scientist that maybe inspired you? Like, was there anyone you could kind of look up to, or you just kind of had that drive?
I think it's just like a lot of different things just happening. So for example, I didn't want to know that I wanted to be a professor until like it was like the last quarter. So I was on a quarter system for undergrad, So quarters here are about 10 weeks. So we were probably like 4 weeks into the quarter. So 6 weeks before I had to graduate. So by that time, the deadline to like apply for graduate school was over. But it started because one of my professors, it was like a small lab class. Those electives where as you get higher through your like undergrad experience, the classes get smaller. And we were assigned to do a presentation on a reaction that we were not familiar with, a named reaction, and then kind of explain it to the class, kind of like a little mini teaching lesson.
Yeah.
And me and my partner, we did our presentation, and afterwards he said, hey, I think you have a really good voice for teaching. He's like, have you ever thought about teaching?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, no, I haven't. And it kind of just like made me think and be like, oh, that'd be really cool, because like my professors until that point were I guess most of them were white men. And then, yeah, most of them. There was a couple of female professors that I had. Trying to think. Math was still mostly male professors. Yeah, at least for the sciences, definitely. My electives, like, they were like my professors were mostly like females for those classes. And that's kind of how I got into teaching. And I was like, well, to teach, you need a PhD.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so I have to go to graduate school for that. And then after graduate school, like, luckily I didn't have to do a postdoc, which some people, like, if you want to do research, you do have to do a postdoc. I only wanted to do teaching.
Oh, cool.
So I didn't want to do any research. And so I actually was able to find a job like straight from
awesome.
Graduate school to the place that I was teaching. And I guess I never thought myself as like the teaching type of person because I'm very shy. But I think that's pretty common apparently amongst like teachers and professors, which is kind of interesting.
That is very interesting. The love of sharing information, I think, goes a long way, because I'm on that boat too. Like, catch me on the side of the street, I'm not going to talk to you, but if you want to talk about plants, like, I won't stop. So I understand that.
So I think it's that, and like sharing knowledge, and sharing in a way that's maybe a little bit easier to understand. I mean, chemistry is not easy. But, if you're able to, teach something in a certain different way, maybe approach it differently, or, I liked the idea of, like, teaching in a small class as opposed to teaching in a big class, as opposed to, like, I think my classes were, like, 300, especially. I went to a big college.
Huge, yeah.
But, like, when I was teaching, my class, at most, I think it was probably when we had lab classes, was maybe 20 students.
Nice.
Right? So it's a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So getting that more interaction, I really appreciated. And also seeing that, there were students of color.
Yeah.
And they felt comfortable asking me questions where maybe, if I was maybe a different professor that was not a person of color, maybe they wouldn't feel as comfortable telling me things either related to the topic or if they were experiencing things on campus, which I actually ended up getting a lot of students feeling comfortable telling me, this is what I experienced, like, what should I do? Because they didn't feel comfortable telling their other professors about it.
Yeah, that's a huge honor and also a huge responsibility too. I can definitely understand that, but a beautiful thing to be in that position and be like, let's see how I can best help you and whatever they need. So I love that. I also had a professor in undergrad who was a woman, and her PhD was in environmental education, and I had no idea that was even a field of study. So she was the one who changed it all for me. So I love that we have a similarity in that, because I think fondly a lot to those times, like when I first met her and she kind of like took me under her wing. So it's like, it's so nice to have people to be in your corner, to advocate for you, to like inspire you in some way, or even say like, this is something you can do, have you ever thought about it? Like that's just
at
such
that
an incredible
point
thing.
I had only like thought like, oh, people with chemistry degrees only work like in labs, right? And like I also took the chance during that time, because I had to wait a whole year from when I graduated to apply to actually a couple months, but the whole year for the whole process, right? I ended up working at a pharmaceutical company. So also good to know, be like, okay, do I want to do that maybe after I graduate with my PhD, or do I not?
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
It was good though. I mean, that's where I learned about, like, you know, you really need all the sciences to work on trying to develop a new drug to, you know, help a type of disease.
Mm-hmm.
You need biologists. You need people to do, what am I thinking of? What's that word? Modeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like chemistry or like bio related like computations. I'm like, oh, like this is why you need a lot of people working on the same project. So like brought that into understanding. And again, it kind of makes sense with like now with the stuff that I'm trying to help out with, like doing soil science. Like our team, I think, is stronger because we have a chemist, we have two soil scientists. One, like their specialty is fungi, and like the other one's going to go back to school, and it's like really cool because it just makes things more coherent.
Oh yeah, and everything, like, I think for anything, whether it's science related or not, having different perspectives is huge. Just to understand, somebody might think about something a little bit differently, and you're like, let's try that, or let's dig into that a little bit more, you know? So I think in particular it lends itself better to science because you get like all of that information. But that's just something, for me in particular, I just love learning from other people too. So I think that's really cool to identify, like, that team that you have right now is so diverse.
Yeah, it's really cool, and we're all women, which is amazing too.
Even better. I want to talk a little bit more about your social media presence, because that's how we connected, and through Latinas in STEM as well, which was super cool. I was really drawn to the work of Latinas in STEM because in undergrad I joined a Latina-based sorority. So it was really cool to see, like, there was a space
and a community.
Yes. That of Latinas that came together for like different causes is not the right word, like different purposes, I guess. So the sorority was more like community service, you know, friendship building, and of course, like, you know, sharing our pride in our cultures. And, you know, since I graduated, I haven't been as involved with them, but now that I'm on my entrepreneurial journey and seeing, you know, the work other people are doing, and I found Latinas in STEM, I was like, that's me, you know? So I loved you know, connecting with them and their social media presence, and then by extension you, because that's how we got in touch. So I know are you still involved with Latinas?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
so I'm still like working with them. I'm still doing like their social media, their marketing, helping out with fundraisers, like donation campaigns, trying to set up like community events, volunteer events. I'm still doing work with them, and then I'm also obviously doing some soil science with my friend has a business called Soil Wise. And it started out with this like consulting thing, and it turned into, hey, do you want to help us actually with the soil science, like doing soil sampling and stuff? And I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you also have your own page.
Yes.
Right? And I've seen you've been posting a lot of videos there. My favorite was recently for the 4th of July, you did one about fireworks.
Yes.
That was super cool. I love those like bite-sized pieces of information, and that's something I want to move into a little bit more with my platform. So what has that been like for you? Like, I'm just curious because, like I said, that's something I'm trying to work on for myself. How, I assume you do it a lot on your own. How do you kind of come up with the ideas and try to, like,
it's hard.
Produce it? Because it's 30 seconds, but you put in hours.
It's 90 seconds.
Or 90.
I try to keep it under 90 seconds just because that's the attention span.
Yep.
Not my attention span's longer, but that's just probably, you know, me.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's not going to be, it's not easy. I kind of was like, okay, what are some, like, how are some other people approaching, and doing a little bit of research of, like, you know, how to come up with, like, what do you need to captivate people?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I'm not trying to do this to like get the likes or like anything of that. It's like I want it to be informational.
Yes.
And for someone to take something from it, right? So like obviously you need like a hook, and then like maybe like a quick introduction, and then a very short explanation. Cap it with like something to like that's applicable, whether it's to our life or the relevancy. Is there like a call for it, or like say call of action?
Yes.
Right? So it really depends. But yeah, it takes a couple of hours and planning.
Time, yeah.
It is. And
then setting it up, having to record.
Yeah. And then editing. Luckily I taught myself editing when I was a professor, because we had, during the pandemic, we switched over. And I was like, okay, I got to record some lectures for some of them, and I have to learn how to edit them. I had to learn how to do the whole mic thing. And I'm like, okay, now I don't have access to Premiere Pro, but it's like Canva has its own little thing included, which kind of works. Not as good as I would like it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It does what I need, the bare minimum, right? It's not going to be flashy. It's not going to have like, all these like things, which is fine, but it's a lot to think about.
Absolutely. And it's an interesting way of storytelling for the social media age.
Yeah.
Because like you're saying, you need to be really captivating, have that hook instantly, that call to action. And it's hard to distill in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
But I've seen you've gotten a lot of engagement, which is really exciting. Yeah. So like, how has that what has kind of come up for that? Because I would say, at least for me, people have reached out, and it's really sweet. Sometimes I'll get messages. They're like, what's this plant? Because I post that kind of content, right? So I'm curious for you, like, how have people kind of interacted with that or reached out to you perhaps?
Yeah, let's see. So I think what kind of I was always on the fence, do I want to do it? Because again, as a professor, I think we would prefer to do long form, just because lectures are long form. Even when it's at a lab, it's technically a long form way of communicating information.
It is, yeah.
And obviously it's hands-on, and you can't do that when it's online. And it's, so again, that is very different from your 90-second bit. But I do get some things. So for example, this is a good way, somebody recently posted, this is a really good breakdown to understand some of the contaminants that's been going on. So that's kind of what started it. I was always hesitant. I was like, I don't know where to start. Should I do it on things that I like, things that other people would be interested in? And I mean, the fires, they happened, and I was
super topical.
I was like, this is so relevant. I literally was wearing a mask inside my house because it for at least 2 weeks, because smoke was not going anyway.
Of course.
And so I started thinking about okay, I know there's contaminants. I know we have this air quality index, but that's not always accurate, because it only takes up bigger particle sizes compared to metals and dust and asbestos and lead that might be floating in the air, which probably wouldn't be detected by those detectors. So I'm like, okay, maybe this would be a good way to kind of dig my feet into it.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked. But yeah, I've been getting a lot of oh, this is really good information. And that's some opportunities have risen
Yes.
from that, of can you help us maybe try to make content like this, whether it's they're the videos are great, but maybe what about a post or a flyer or something. So that's
incredible.
It's nice. Yeah. And I think it's really important, and I kind of wish other organizations that are trying to help this effort right now with post wildfire would kind of take advantage of kind of using these short form type of things to get that information out, even if it's in another language. I don't feel comfortable maybe doing my stuff in Spanish as well, because I'm oh, it's gonna be choppy.
Oh gosh,
it's I am so self-conscious with my Spanish, even though I feel fine if I speak it to my parents or my brother, but if I speak it to someone who, I don't know, maybe they just spoke it better.
Right.
As it's like, I don't know. It's like, I feel like I have lost a lot of, I don't want to say lost, but it takes me time to translate. And then
Absolutely.
science terms don't always translate.
Yes, Daisy, you get me. That's like the most intimidating part. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like you, being an educator and a scientist, you want to be factual and correct.
Yeah.
But then you put that in another language and it's
And
like,
yeah,
like what
like,
do you
okay,
do?
I know how to say lead, plomo,
Mm-hmm.
but what was the other one I was trying? Oh, I just had this conversation like before I came here. Cobalt. And I was like, oh, how do you say cobalt in Spanish? I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah. And that's real.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, yeah, I can't do that. I was like, I'd be great, like, if they wanted to look it over and so that's proofread it.
Yeah.
Or be like, oh, no, that's, like, not the Spanish that, like, people, like, are used to. For example, I was trying to help someone with coming up with, like, a translated FAQ sheet on, like, soil contaminants in the soil. And one of them was, how do you say dirt?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
How do you say it?
I've come up with this. I'll tell you in a second. So I would say tierra.
That's what I would say. But if you put this into Google Translate, they
Gives
say...
you barro or something, no?
It gave me... Oh, shoot. Not piso. It gave me another word to say soil, too. It gave me a different word. And I was like, oh, I would not say it. I would call it la tierra.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, this is not how you would put it. I was like, we would refer to it the earth,
right.
Even though it's very different, right? I can't remember what Google Translate was suggesting, but I was like, no.
How interesting. But yeah, I've come across the exact same thing, or especially with plant names. That's a whole other ballpark. Because depending what country you're from, what region
snake
of
plants.
a country.
What do you call snake plants?
In Spanish? I don't know what that would be.
So apparently, like in...
I know the scientific name.
My mom refers to them as lengua de Judas.
Interesting.
Or lengua de mi suegra.
Oh,
And I'm like, what? I'm
How
like, what's so
interesting.
hard to say snake plant?
Right. And yeah, I think that's the bane of my existence, being a botany person, is the common names translating, because it's not a direct.
Yeah. It's not verbatim.
Exactly. So I'm so glad we're talking about this, because sometimes I'm just looking at this, like, as much as I want to connect with people on it, it's really hard for me, and that is a lot of work, you know. And it's like, it's not that I don't want to do the work, but it's like you really need a lot of time and effort to do it right, I feel like. And
you don't want to do it injustice.
Exactly. Like, it's completely justified to want to do it right, but that inspires me. Maybe we can practice our Spanish.
Here is a good tip.
Ooh, tell me.
So I found out through just like looking at the advanced options when you're gonna post your post, you can put that you can translate the captions.
What?
It'll translate it for the person. Like if somebody else is like looking at the same video, they will be able to see the captions in the language they have set on their phone.
You're kidding. Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, that is so cool. I will show you how to do that. But yes, I'm like, okay, this is where I'm okay with AI.
Right.
This is an amazing job for that. And I'm like, okay.
It takes it off your plate.
Yes. So I was like, okay, maybe the translation's not going to be like 100%, but it's still, you know.
Bridges that gap
A little bit.
Oh my God. I love that we're talking about this. I love it.
So that's a good thing that, you know, I've learned from that.
Amazing.
And I don't know if this was like a recent addition, but I literally just accidentally found it scrolling.
That's so cool.
Where I didn't remember seeing it before for like other videos, like as an option. And I'm like, so I always make sure that I check that or toggle, because it's like a little toggle thingy
to switch it on. That's so awesome. And that makes me think, so we're kind of winding down on the conversation. But I can definitely see that as an area of like improvement, and to kind of, you know, figure out how another way to make things more accessible, right? And I'm curious, I feel like you have your hands in so many different things, but let's say like you won the lottery tomorrow, or, you know, your dreams come true, and you don't have to worry about finances, what would be a really cool project or like something you'd want to achieve in your work that's like, you know, that would be like the ultimate goal?
I don't know. I always admired, and I was like, man, that's like, and I always admired this when I was growing up, and also was like, I was like, there should be more like Latina scientists for these things. So I remember PBS would have these like little shorts for scientists, and they would explain their work or something. And in my head, I'm like, it would be so cool to one day like be that person so a smaller kid can see it. But now the whole funding thing. So I'm like, oh, fudge. I don't know. That's like a little mini passion dream of mine, right? I mean, I've had the chance to work on, I would say, some bigger projects, which is like not PBS, but like something with like the National Academy of Sciences, which is still cool. But that is just like one tiny little thing where I'm like, that would just be so cool, because I don't know, if I watched PBS as a kid, right, like what's stopping some other young child who, you know, is curious about the world and sees someone that maybe looks like them.
Absolutely.
Just like explaining science or seeing that they can have fun doing what it is that they're doing.
Yeah, and do it themselves.
Yeah.
I love that. So that's kind of like a pinch of kind of what this video series is for me. So I know it's not geared towards kids, but hopefully this just brings you to a different platform where people learn about your work, and then, you know, we're just building up that representation and supporting each other through this stuff. So I love that. And then just to kind of wrap things up, is there anything that like you're currently working on that you'd like to promote or kind of share any last minute thoughts about?
I don't know. I don't know what I want to work on.
I know there's lot.
There's a lot of like other smaller things where I haven't like thought so much of like, okay, but yeah, I can't think of anything.
Okay, no worries. Well, people can find you on Instagram, right? It's at Dr. Daisy
Rosas V.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to put it in the video, if that's okay.
Yes,
so you can push more people to you. They can reach out, I guess, if anything kind of struck a chord with them.
Yeah.
And then continue the conversation. And then you're also, you know, supporting Latinas in STEM on the back end. So find them on Instagram. They have a website, the blog. I'm on the email newsletter. I love getting them. So lots of great things. Thank you so much, Daisy.
Yeah, thank you for having me,
conversation.
Tatiana.